Have you ever heard the term, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em? Ever wondered where it came from? According to my weak-ass Google search, this guy, James E. Watson. However, Gen Z men have taken this idiom to higher heights with a new and alarming trend. What trend is that, you might ask? Well, buckle up because this is going to be a doozy. Hi, my name is Serge and welcome to Maison de Bois, where we discuss self-improvement, dating, relationships, and fitness for males from the perspective of a male. If you're new here, welcome. Ladies, you're more than welcome to stay, but fellas, this is your home, so do me a favor. If you are new here, make sure you wipe your feet off at the door before you come in and hit that subscribe button for your boy and share the video with your homies if you fuck with it. All right, enough chit chat. Let's get into it. So before I even go through the first article, I just want to say this isn't me trying to incite like violence or any sort of hate speech against those that are looking to, transition. My whole thing is, at what point do we admit that somewhere along the way we've gone wrong as a society and we've let down a majority of the men within the society? And I'm not saying that it's up to us as a whole to make sure or to ensure that every man becomes a top G and gets a Bugatti. But what I'm saying is, at what point did society just completely turn their backs on those that feel like they have been rejected by society to begin with? This is how we've gotten to the situation or scenarios that we have now, thus being why incel men are transmaxing. So why are incels turning themselves into girls? Again, I'm not laughing. I'm not even going to explain myself. Fuck it. The rise of transmaxing is a sign of things to come. So a new report from Sanjana Friedman at Pirate Wires documents a phenomenon that has been a source of discussion among the extremely online for a little while. That sentence made no sense whatsoever, and has now made it into the open. Transmaxing is a subculture of young men who embrace trans identities not because they believe they were born in the wrong body, but simply because they can and because they think it'll make their lives better. Now, here's my ultimate argument. And when I say this is my argument, we're going to watch a video by a creator called Vanta Blackpill, which I could understand his position on the discussion here. However, I would say it's largely flawed. This is where my main point of contention lies. Transmaxing is a subculture of young men who embrace trans identities not because they believe they were born in the wrong body, but simply because they can and because they think it'll make their lives better. Here's my thing. I wouldn't say that women have harder lives than men. That would be obviously incorrect. But I can't say that their life doesn't have challenges whatsoever. A woman's life is fraught with its own series of challenges. This isn't me being empathetic either, but try to think about it from a logical perspective. Like, at the end of the day, both humans, regardless of gender, go through challenges because struggle is just the nature of things. So getting bolt-ons isn't going to change much. So here we got this video by a creator called Vanta Black, who is apparently like pro transmaxing. So just gonna do a quick reaction. It's a pretty long fucking video. It's like 27 minutes of him just like going on about it. So let me know in the comments if you want me to do a part 2. I'll do a part 2 to it if this gets like 30 likes. Anyway, let's go ahead and play this shit.
It kind of blown up in the recent weeks or so. I know that Kat did an interview with a journalist, and then that interview went out.
Also, fair use.
Wrote an article for that, and then that seemed to have gained a lot more traction than I originally thought it would, which is amazing because base form is when a man, generally an incel, I'm just going to say incel for these purposes, transitions into a woman for different reasons. It might be social benefits, it might be because they actually have like gender dysphoria and then they transition. There's like a few different reasons, right? And so there's been a lot of response to this, a lot of different ideas.
All right, so real quick, gender dysphoria aside, first of all, the biggest question I have here is, what are the social benefits to transitioning into a trans woman? Especially if you don't feel like you're a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're literally just transitioning, if you're like literally on some can't beat 'em, join 'em shit, what social benefits do you expect to receive from that at least from that perspective? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway.
a lot of different viewpoints on it, but I want to talk about the logic of it, the pure logic. Take out any emotions behind transitioning, take out any preconceived notions about trans people, any memes you might have stored in your brain. Think about it from a purely logical standpoint. Incels are oppressed objectively. They are losers in the sexual market. They are oppressed in this way. That doesn't mean everybody deserves a woman. Doesn't mean that women are like a right which is supposed to be bestowed onto people.
So he kind of just answered my own question. Again, if they are objectively losers, or at the very least, if they see themselves as losers, how is changing into a woman going to change that? Like, now you just look like a chick. You haven't lived the life of a chick. You don't have no chick stories. You don't have no chick thought stories. Like, I just don't understand. Like, what about adding bolt-ons to your body now makes you think life is going to be better for you? It doesn't make sense.
That's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying that if sexual competition exists and if the sexual marketplace exists, then incels are losing objectively.
Yeah, you are losing because life inherently is a competition. And I'm not saying like you should be losing. That's not what I'm saying. You should want to compete. Like, I don't know. I feel like we have this notion as a Western society that you don't have to compete. Matter of fact, let me big screen myself real quick. That was a completely wrong button. Gentlemen, let me tell you something. You have to compete. You have to compete. There is none of this airy fairy, oh my God, I'm a good person, life should just be good for me. No, that shit does not exist, fam. You have to compete in this world. And if you don't compete in this world, you will lose. It's really that simple. But for some reason, we don't want to consider that.
However, it's not that simple, right? The most beneficial stuff which happens in someone's life is often generated from different things relating to finding a partner. For example, finding your partner is often said as being one of the most enjoyable or one of the happiest events in someone's life. Getting married, one of the happiest. Having kids, one of the happiest. Buying a house, one of the happiest or most substantial. But you can't really buy a house on a single payer income. So from this original oppression, which might seem, if you're like looking from the outside in, to be fairly inconsequential, has substantial effects down the line when it pertains to the most important parts of someone's life, right? The core events of someone's life, they generally aren't getting because they're not able to find a partner, whatever reason it might be.
That's not inherently true. And the reason why that's not inherently true is simply because a lot of these young men that are transitioning are like between the ages of like damn near 17 to 19. You know what I mean? So it's like you haven't even lived life long enough to be able to come to that conclusion. And now, granted, I'm not saying that in this dating climate is ideal for you to try to do that. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is to automatically assume that A, things can't get better, and B, you can't develop as a person is a huge misnomer. And essentially well, I can't say that word, but you're plaxico-bursing yourself, if you know what I mean, because of the simple fact that you can't get over the mental hump that you have now inflicted upon yourself. Does that make sense? Continuing.
And not looking into the future, looking into the effects which might I don't know what you say, like the comorbidities, I don't know, the other factors which affect not having a partner. Generally, from my conversations with other incels, they generally have a weaker social group outside of online spaces. Generally, they face some sort of abuse from some sort of parent or something like that, or severe bullying. They're normally autistic, which means they have a difficult time interacting with people generally.
Look, honestly, man, aside from the autism part that he just mentioned, that's a real shit ton of excuses. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot of excuses that are being made for what seems like, and this isn't me heavily advocating for self-improvement. I don't have a book to sell you. Well, I do. Click the link in the bio to find out more. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is there are workarounds for this kind of shit. Like I'm not saying you have to do this for women. Like, the idea of improving yourself for women sounds dumb. But if you think about it, at our biological imperative, it is to reproduce. Now, with all that being said, it is a competition to do so. You're not entitled to a woman, and a woman is not entitled to you. But with all that being said, you have the ability to compete, but you just don't want to because you're born in a Western society which has coddled you to death. You've been eating processed foods, which is why you have a recessed chin. And now you're frustrated because your life has been a lie up until this moment, and you realize that shit has gone south. So for some reason, you think the best bet is to transmorph.
Transform and roll out.
They're more they're more they're more neurotic, which means they generally perceive situations as having more negative outcomes than they might actually have, and they dwell on negative outcomes more than.
Again, if you're going to spend all your time being neurotic and thinking about bad moments, what do you think is going to happen? Like, obviously, like, I think somewhere down the line with our society, as technologically sound as we are, we've gone Ari thinking that our minds aren't the catalyst to a lot of the things that we have here. Like, think about the ability of the human brain and what it's brought about. And me sitting here talking to you right now is a marvel in human ingenuity. And yet now we don't think we're smart enough to surpass some of the very trivial issues that a lot of us in Western societies face today. Are all of our trivial issues trivial, or all our issues trivial? No. But in this case, a majority of them are. And a majority of them being how you look, or like your wardrobe and how society perceives you. That's fixable. You can work on that. So to sit here and say that you can't, and your best bet is to just, again, add some bolt-ons to your body and then just assume you're a woman, it doesn't really make sense to me. And I would really hope that someone who's gone through this would actually be willing to reach out and talk to me about this. Because if you don't have actual gender dysphoria and you don't feel like you actually want to be a woman, or you don't feel like you're a woman, but you transition anyway, I need to know what your dating life has been like since you've done this, and if it worked, because maybe you did stumble onto a solution. I don't know. I was born in the 90s. I'm like the last of the Mohicans, one of the last real niggas on earth, but I have no idea. Continuing.
Positive or neutral outcomes, which means they are more apprehensive to doing XYZ sort of task. So we have this amalgamation of hyper negative variables which are not acknowledged by anyone. No one cares about this. No media outlet cares about this. No big YouTuber really cares about this.
It's not that no one cares. No one can care. How do you expect other people to care about your problems? And of course, when you have a mass of people having similar issues, then yeah, perhaps society should take a look at it. But at the end of the day, and this isn't me saying, pull yourself by your bootstraps, but to some degree, like, you have to have that kind of, like, you know, what is the word I'm looking for? Gumption. You have to have that kind of gumption to say, or the self-awareness rather, to be like, oh shit, there are some areas I need to improve upon. Like, you can't walk through life that blind and then blame the world for your inability to take action on things you could have changed. Again, that shit don't make no sense.
Because incels have become synonymous with negativity. If somebody says you walk like an incel, you dress like an incel, you talk like an incel, are they complimenting you? Are they being kind to you? No, they're insulting you. Why? Because,
well, I mean, would they be lying though?
incel has fallen into this what would I call it? Into this valley where anything associated with incels is negative, right? Anything. It doesn't matter what, it's just used as an insult. And it's more widely accepted as just an
I'm going to zoom through this a little bit because he's just waffling.
incel sphere. People still use the word incel as an insult, right? If these people are oppressed and they are effectively losers, and they are not able to get out of this loserdom for mainly genetic reasons, then what else can they do? Are they just going to sit and rot forever? Are they just going to kill themselves? Are they just going to, I don't know, ascend by asking out like 1,000?
That's such a weak point. Like, okay, because you're going through a tough year, a tough 2 years, a tough 3 years, because you're not getting dates, all of a sudden the resort is delete yourself. See, this is the fucking problem with Western men. Yo, you know what I've realized? A lot of you aren't gonna like what I have to say here, especially you men. Most of you are jellyback bitches. You're jellyback bitches. You have a soft ass spine, bro. You're weak. You're weak. Like, I'm not the type of person to ever condemn those for, not being able to overcome shit. Like, we all have things that intrinsically are difficult for us. We all have our own challenges, yes. But my God, I've never even heard of a group or a generation of men that are this soft. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have empathy. You shouldn't be soft. There shouldn't be a duality to your personality. Bars. But what I am saying is like, yo, life is going to punch you in the face. That's just the reality of it. Life is going to punch you in the face a couple times. And for you to sit here and be like, oh, I can't fucking take it. Oh, God. Give me some bolt-ons. It's not going to help your problem. It's not going to help your problem. No matter how many fucking charts you want to make, no matter how many 73-page manifestos you want to make, it's not going to change. The problem isn't your exterior, it's your interior. But until you understand that, no matter what additions you throw onto your body, you're still going to go through the same shit.
They're going to go through other methods in order to get what they desire. And what do they desire? They desire to be desired. Most incels, it's not about sex. It's not about relationships generally.
There you go. There you go. So this is the issue. The issue is because you're, fuck, I just hit the wrong thing. So because you're not desired, you switch teams to become desirable? Somebody make that make sense to me. No, seriously, somebody make that make sense to me, because again, like I said in the beginning of this video, at what point did we as a society, or where did we as a society go wrong and say to the rest of these men that it's okay to do some shit like this? And again, look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't transition. I'm not saying if you have some gender dysphoria that you shouldn't transition. Do you, boo-boo? I'm not one of these people that are going to be condemning people left and right for what they want to do. Just leave me the fuck alone. But whatever you want to do whatever you want to do. All I'm saying is, if you're transitioning because you can't get chicks, so you're gonna be a chick in hopes that you can bag a chick, bro, your game, first of all, I don't believe in game, but if there was game, you have absolutely none. And I'm not saying that to roast you, but what I'm saying is, just like I said before, it's not the external that is going to make the difference. It's the internals that are going to make the difference. And until you get that, you're going to have the same experiences whether you're a guy or a girl. And that's really it. But guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. You tell me, would you transition if you weren't able to get dates? Let me know your thoughts. Once again, don't forget to leave a subscribe, share this video with your homies, and go ahead and like this motherfucker too. Check out one of these videos here. If not, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.